Hi guys, you alright?
There we go. Perfect.
There we go.
All right, we'll start.
Pablo, you got a very English accent for a name like Pablo.
Yeah, honestly, long story with me. Maybe for another video with how I've grown up with football and stuff. But yeah, honestly, been Barcelona fan for 12 years now and massive Barca fan. So yeah, if you want to know about Lenglet, then I'll have plenty to say.
All right.
So so give us your initial opinions on Lenglet, because he came to Barcelona with a big reputation from Sevilla, had a good, I think, a year or two at Sevilla where people were talking about him as one of the best up-and-coming defenders in Europe at one stage. But that seemed to have gone a bit sour for him at Barcelona. So what's happened there?
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. The Lenglet story is a really interesting one. So when he first came to Barcelona, sort of the idea was to be a backup centre-back because Samuel Umtiti was in the team for Barcelona. Pretty quickly, Umtiti had a bad injury. Lenglet came in next to Piqué and really thrived. 18-19 season for Barcelona. It was my opinion. I thought Lenglet was one of the best performing centre-backs in Europe. 19-20 season, he'd established himself in Barcelona's first team. And I think all the fan base were kind of agreeing that, yeah, this is a really good player. Lenglet came in. He's very good at bringing the ball out the back. He was solid. He wasn't making many errors. Maybe the system under Valverde suited him more than some of the football Barcelona play nowadays. And with Lenglet, I mean, like you say, I mean, he hasn't got a great reputation right now. Maybe towards the end of the 19-20 season, the Bayern Munich match maybe scarred him and a few players quite a lot, conceding that heavy amount of goals. And that wasn't pleasant. Obviously, you go into the 2021 season, I think Lenglet started to become even more error prone. Too many penalties given away, out of position, costly mistakes, and Barcelona fans were starting to think, here we go, Lenglet is slipping. And I mean, last season, he just wasn't in the team that much. He's just not in favour anymore for Barcelona. And the fact of the matter is, plenty of Barcelona fans will be happy to see Lenglet go this summer. They will. And that's not to say Lenglet is a bad player. I mean, you can see I've got him behind me back there, but I was a big fan of Lenglet. Honestly, I thought he was a class centre-back. I really did. But you have to be honest, Lenglet was very good for Barcelona. But of late, he's been very poor, and he is full of mistakes right now. I think he can become a good centre-back, and I think, I'm a big fan of Antonio Conte as a manager, and I think he could do well for Spurs. But the fact of the matter is, in the Barcelona story, Lenglet has struggled of late.
But we've seen it even, like, if you asked a Spurs fan a year ago what they thought of Eric Dyer and Ben Davies, we would have probably said very similar things. He's rubbish. We don't want him. Get rid of him. He's error prone. Maybe Lenglet, maybe a change of system and an arm around the shoulder could be exactly what he needs to get back to form. Do you think that could be the case?
Yeah, well, I think that's what Spurs will be gambling on. I do. I mean, I'm aware that you guys may still be looking for another blockbuster centre-back, someone like a Bastoni or a Bremer. I'm close friends with a Spurs fan, so I talk a lot about Spurs transfers. So, I've seen you guys are looking for someone big. And then the Lenglet name came out, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute. Obviously, I think for Barca fans, it's good news. But I think you're right. I mean, you look at Ben Davies' performances at left centre-back under Conte, and I think it's been really impressive. Eric Dyer has also improved, I think. And I think generally Lenglet will have a better time at Spurs. And I think also he might need the change of atmosphere, because I know he enjoys playing for Barcelona, but he's not getting enough minutes right now. And it's clear the last 2 seasons his performances have dropped. And Conte's great at having a defensive structure and helping out defensive players. We've seen it. So I think Lenglet, if he's got cover around him, if he's in the right system, if he's in the right role, he could thrive for Spurs. Of course, as I say with any transfer, we'll have to see. But I imagine that's what Spurs and Conte and Paratici are hoping for.
Yeah, look, Pablo, I'm not going to lie. I haven't seen much of him play, especially over the last couple of years. But what I have seen is kind of clips doing the round of social medias with the supreme ball-playing ability that Lenglet does kind of possess. But what other kind of strengths does he have in his armoury, and maybe where do his frailties lie? And is he physical enough for the Premier League?
Well, yeah, you make a really good point. Lenglet is excellent at bringing the ball out the back. It's probably one of the main reasons Barcelona signed him. You kind of need that. He's very good at spraying the ball, very good at breaking lines, and that's why Barca loved him, why he got himself a spot in the France squad too. What else was Lenglet good at? What I really liked about Lenglet was how aggressive he was. So for Barcelona, again, you play very high up in the defence, so you need to really, clamp in on the strikers. We often play on the halfway line, which is also where Lenglet struggled running back. But he's very aggressive at getting into the back of strikers, or just anticipating a ball up to the striker and intercepting it. I think he's a very, very aggressive centre-back, and that's kind of his style. Out of the ball, he likes to be in on strikers. Having said that, that's also where some problems have come, because when you get it wrong, you give away penalties, you give away free kicks, you lose your position. That's when Lenglet's errors have come in. But certainly 18-19, 19-20, when he was getting it spot on, it was really impressive to watch. So I say, along with his ball playing abilities, very aggressive and good anticipating balls up to the forwards.
There's been a bit of discussion among the Spurs fan base about where he will play in terms of will it be the centre-back role or the left centre-back role, what he's more suited to. From what you've seen, which role would you think he is more suited to? Because how Conte likes to play the left centre-backs is he likes them to forry forward when they can and get into the final third and help contribute in numbers to the forward line when they can. Do you think Lenglet could do that job, or would he be better just suited to how Eric Dyer plays, where he just sits in the middle of a back three, spraying passes around and doesn't have to move around too much?
Yeah, it's a really hard one, that, because I thought about it a lot. When I first heard of the rumour, I instantly thought Lenglet will go at left centre-back just because, left-footed. And he is quite good at bringing the ball out the back. He can progress with the ball and make those incisive passes into the final third. So I think Conte will try that, but I also think about it and think, like you said, in that Eric Dyer role, Lenglet isn't the paciest player, so he can be quite protected in there. His passing range is very good. I think that could work for him. But I suppose it would also depend if Spurs sign another centre-back this summer, and we'll have to see, who does Conte prefer to take out? If not, is it Dyer or is it Davies? Look, if I had to pick one off the top of my head, I would go left centre-back just because I think it's more natural for him. But let's see, like you say, if Conte wants, speed and getting up and down and sort of helping out with the attack, then he may look to shift Lenglet to the centre.
It could be an interesting one. I mean, I, for one, I wasn't very excited when Lenglet was first kind of linked to Tottenham. But I think the more I watch of him, the more I hear of him, the stats that I see from him as well. I mean, Sim did a really good statistical analysis video comparing him to different targets and stuff like that. I'm more warming to maybe the idea of Lenglet coming in. Do you think that this signing is going to be a success?
It's difficult. It is difficult. I think a lot of people would immediately say no because of Lenglet's last few seasons. However, I think with what we've spoken about, the fact that I think there is a good defender in Lenglet and Antonio Conte's system, I think Spurs could potentially be getting a deal that, surprises a few people. I've seen a few people on Twitter saying, let's not judge him until he arrives. And I'd probably recommend that to all the Spurs fans, because I honestly feel, it's like I said, I feel like when Lenglet's at the top of his game, he can be one of the best defenders. I really do feel that he's got all the traits for it. So it depends. It's hard to say now. And I think if you ask Barcelona fans, most of them, is Lenglet going to be a good player for us guys? Then a lot of them would find it hard to say, yeah, he's going to be brilliant just because of the last few seasons. The fact is he has struggled. Barca fans would like him to be sold this summer. So I can't sit here and just lie to you guys and say you're getting an incredible centre-back. But what you could get is a very solid centre-back, and you're getting him on loan. I can't expect the loan fee to be too high. We'll have to wait and see what the option to buy is, if there is one. I don't expect it to be an obligation. So I'm sure we'll have more info on that in the next few days. But look, will he be a success? There's a chance he could with Conte. There is a chance he could, Matt. I think that's the gamble that Spurs are going to try and take here. Yeah,
it looks like it. But just quick, it is fair to say, though, despite Lenglet struggles, Barcelona defensively have also struggled just in general, right? And we all know that it's a lot harder to when you're in a defense which is a bit all over the place. No offense, but it was for a few years, wasn't it? So maybe it's something to do with that. And if he goes and comes into a more settled defense, who are trained under a manager like Conte, who's very much about having a solid backline, maybe that's where the improvement can come.
No, I completely agree with that. And that's probably the main thing I think about this Lenglet transfer in terms of a positive thing for Spurs. You're spot on about Barca defenders. You can be made to look silly very easily. You really can, because we play so high up. And if you're not completely rapid, like a Ronaldo Araujo, for example, you're going to be caught out. Even players like Jordi Alba, too far out of position, not defensively good enough. When Dani Alves came in last season, he can be made to look silly. Miguel has been made to look silly. PK can look, slow and sluggish running back. Eric Garcia, same things happen to him. Plays too high up, and then players are going to catch him out with pace and strength. It happens. It does happen, and I think you're right. Barcelona have struggled defensively. It hasn't just been Lenglet. That's where Spurs will try and hope. They'll say we've got the system. We've got the coach, and you're going to be fine here. You're going to be around players. You won't have as many distances to cover. Will be the hope, and that will, I think, for Lenglet be also where he thinks, this is a chance for me to maybe revive my career. The World Cup's coming around, of course, in November this time. He needs minutes, and he'll want to prove himself again to get back in France's squad. So I think for Lenglet, I think like a lot of Barca players, we have the problem. They don't want to leave because they love the city, the club, and the salary is the big thing. But I think Lenglet also, he needs this in his career. He needs something new. So let's see what he can do.
All right. Well, Pablo, thank you so much for coming on, letting us know your insight on Lenglet. Just before we let you go, I mean, there has been some transfer rumours as well about a player called Rafinha of Leeds, obviously. I mean, Arsenal are on the verge of signing him. Chelsea are on the verge of signing him. Are Barca going to get their man?
Well, yeah, with Rafinha, I think what everyone needs to know is Rafinha is obsessed with joining Barcelona. You know, we sometimes we see it with moves that Rafinha is just, you know, Barca, Barca, Barca. And that's going to cause real issues in the deal. I think for Leeds, they're in a really odd spot because they've got a club like Chelsea, for example, offering big money for the player and saying you can get all this cash right now. And then you've got Rafinha and Deco kind of saying, hang on a minute, you know, we don't really want to go to Chelsea right now. You know, we would if Barca can't get him. But they really want to go to Barcelona. They're desperate for it. You've got Deco, even in the last few days, in a meeting with the Barca board and Laporta. They're essentially trying to force Rafinha to Barca here. So it's a really interesting one. They may force Leeds into accepting a lower offer. I just find it difficult for, after all of this to happen, Rafinha to not move to Barcelona. He's really forcing his way there. So honestly, if I was to say which way it's going to go, I think Rafinha's going to go to Barcelona. He might not, and Barca's finances might just fall short. But I think him and Deco are doing everything to get him to Barca, and it puts Leeds in a really weird spot because, like I say, I think they're going to have to accept less cash here just because of the players' will.
Well, I hope so, because I, for one, don't really want to see him at either Chelsea or Arsenal anyway.
Yeah,
so.
we're banking on Rafinha.
We're backing the Rafinha to Barca deal, that's for sure.
And Frankie de Jong, quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, De Jong, another one linked to Barca's financial situation. The club will cover it up. You know, watch this summer when they sell De Jong, they'll say that it was a sporting decision. I highly doubt it is. The club are in an awful financial state, and when they get obsessed with forcing a player out, they always do it. They did it to Arthur Melo a few summers back. They actually did it to Emerson as well last summer. He wanted to stay, I remember, and they just said you're off, and he joined Spurs in the end, as you guys know. Barca get obsessed with these things, and they're going to let De Jong go. In my opinion, he will be a Man United player this summer. In my opinion, it will happen. I feel bad for him. I really do, because I can't say joining United is an appealing move right now. One, I think two, De Jong, was obsessed with playing for Barca. It was kind of his dream, and it's just sad to see a player get forced out. And also, it's sad for us as Barca fans because we're losing another top talent in Europe for, in my opinion, not an incredible fee. I think we're looking at 65 million euros. It's like 57 million pounds. This is nothing. It's what you guys have paid for Richarlison, top player in my opinion. But we're looking at Frankie de Jong here, who's meant to be one of the talents of Europe. So it's tough for Barca. It is tough, and what Barca are hoping for is to approve some of these levers to get some cash in. Then they're hoping to move on some players on the salary bill and squad space, and then they can see if they can make some big signings like Lewandowski or Jules Koundé or something. But De Jong, if you had to ask my thoughts, I think they're going to force him out and that he'll join United.
Look, I keep saying just before we let you go, but I do have this one final question. You mentioned Emerson Royale there, so I have to ask you about Emerson Royale. I have to, because there's been a lot of talk about Emerson Royale. First of all, leaving the club this summer. When Spurs signed him, there was these reports online saying that Barcelona hierarchy were laughing at Tottenham for spending so much money on Emerson Royale. I mean, he's had a tough time at Spurs. He did pick it up a bit towards the end of the season and went on a good run to help us secure that top four. But in your personal opinion, do you think Emerson has enough to cut it in the Premier League? Where do you think he'll end up staying at Spurs?
Well, it's another weird one because Emerson performed really well at Real Betis on loan from Barcelona, and kind of all the Barca fans, me included, said, well, let's keep this guy because we need a good right back. We want to have competition for Dest. We want to get to the top of Europe again. Let's have a solid squad. So everyone wanted to keep Emerson. I remember when he was sold to Spurs, I was thinking, there we go again, just weakening the squad for no reason. And then he rocked up at Spurs, and I remember seeing the reports of the Barca officials laughing. And I thought, bit weird. It wasn't a huge transfer fee, and I would have preferred to keep Emerson, but okay. And then I think you're right. I mean, I've seen so much stuff on Twitter, and of course, I've watched Emerson a few times. He has struggled at Spurs. You're right. He's had better moments, but there's been a lot of times watching Emerson when you're thinking, what's going on here. So I've heard rumours too that, I mean, you guys want to know better than me, that he's likely to leave the club this summer. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Atletico Madrid heavily linked, I think. So let's see what happens with Emerson. I think if you let him go for a good price, then I don't think you'll be losing too much. But at the same time, there's a player in there. There is a player in there who a lot of top clubs in Europe want. We can't forget. We cannot forget that. So it's an interesting one. Maybe similar to Lenglet. He can see if he can almost revive his career a bit. But it'll be difficult for Emerson. And I think if Spurs receive a good enough offer, I imagine you'll accept it.
All right. Well, Pablo, thank you so much for coming on today. Really good insight into everything Barcelona related. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm kind of just buzzing around. I'm not really working for a platform or whatnot, trying to make new decisions really with where I go. But just head over to my Twitter, Pablo WB official, or type in Pablo Blanco, and it will come up. You can see my name there. So yeah, follow me on Twitter, and you should be able to see my latest movement. So yeah, honestly, thank you for the opportunity, guys. Thank you for having me on, and all the best, lads.
Well, thank you so
Pablo.
much for
Thanks
coming
for your
on.
time, mate.
We'll see you soon, and whenever anything happens between Tottenham and Barca, hopefully we'll be able to get you back on and get your thoughts again. But once again, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Anytime. Thanks, guys. My pleasure.